On the beat with the ABC. I'm Dr. Jane Morgan, and I have with us today a special guest, Dr. Alanna Morris. Dr. Morris, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Morgan.
She is an advanced heart failure specialist as a cardiologist and also is in industry at Bayer, so has a really welcome to On the Beat with the ABC. I'm Dr. Jane Morgan, and I have with us today a special guest, Dr. Alanna Morris. Dr. Morris, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Morgan.
She is an advanced heart failure specialist as a cardiologist and also is in industry at Bayer, so has a really interesting background. You know what? I'd like to start by asking you how you even came to medicine.
It's funny. I'm blessed that both of my parents were physicians. My father was an orthopedic surgeon. My mother is an occupational physician. So I have to say that my parents absolutely influenced my career path and my role, and still do to this day.
And yet, you deviated a little bit, right? You're an advanced heart
Yes.
failure specialist. So how did what brought you there?
I was always drawn to cardiac patients. I remember being at the Brigham trying to listen for S3s and trying to hear all the murmurs. And it was just fascinating. Every time I took out my stethoscope, and heart failure patients in particular, I just love making people pee. I know that sounds very strange, but when I would come back for rounds the next morning and I'd seen that I'd, diarrhea someone 8-10 liters in a day, it was just more fascinating to me than acute MI or atrial fibrillation. And of course, heart failure is this sort of final common pathway, such that you really see all of the different etiologies of heart disease and what they look like when things have not gone well. I also always had a really strong interest in health disparities that really came out during medical school, and trying to apply that interest in heart failure as a subspecialty in particular really appealed to me.
Yeah, the gratification of being a healer.
Yes.
Right? You wanted to see the pee.
Yes.
What brought you to the ABC, to the Association of Black Cardiologists? What drew you here?
I grew up in Atlanta, and so my identity as an African American was always something that was really important to me. Again, I grew up as a child of children of the Jim Crow South, understanding, again, the role of health disparities, the role of socioeconomics. That was something that was just ingrained in me from birth. And when I came into cardiology, I clearly saw that this world was different than the world that I grew up in. Obviously, a lot of male colleagues, a lot of white colleagues, and I really wanted to find how I could make an impact on disparities, on populations that had very much been left out of the conversation as it pertained to cardiovascular disease. And so the ABC really fit that mission. Again, sort of looking at the entire path, I really identified the ABC as colleagues who looked like me and might have an experience that was similar to mine, but were also focused on the mission of bringing a better quality of care and better clinical outcomes to patients of color, where there was a huge need. And at that time, I think the medical community at large probably wasn't recognizing that need to the degree that it has post George Floyd. So that was really one of the things that brought the ABC into the light for me.
What was that transition like? What is it like to be in industry?
Sure. One of the conversations that has really become very elevated in the last few years is the need to really enhance diversity in clinical trials. Again, thinking about populations, women, patients of color who are overrepresented from the patients that we see in clinical spaces, but are underrepresented for the patients that we see in clinical trials. So that was one of, I think, the things that attracted me to thinking about a role in industry was, could I bring my interest in health disparities, my interest in enhancing diversity in trial spaces, and do that at the level of industry as opposed to doing it in academia, as many of us have thought about and been trained. Bayer found me at a time when there is a drug, finerenone, which currently has an indication in diabetic kidney disease, and we're now hopefully seeking an indication in heart failure. So really combining, again, my clinical expertise with a lot of new learning for me in the industry space, and hopefully bringing this molecule to heart failure patients, and at some point, again, sort of looking at the overlap of chronic kidney disease and heart failure, and improving clinical outcomes for patients who need more options.
You know, Dr. Morris, you have accomplished so much already, but dare I ask, what would you like for your legacy to be?
I want to make sure that every single patient, particularly patients who look like me, patients of
Mhm.
color and women, really have the best outcomes that we can give them. And that can be done, I think, from a variety of sources, from academia, from industry, from government. And I'm exploring a new field and hopefully enhancing who I am as a clinician to ultimately improve care for patients across the globe.
Hey, everybody, take a close look. You're looking at two black female cardiologists. This is very, very rare, but we have them right here at the ABC. And look at this excellence that we have here.
Thank you.
So it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being on
Yes, good to
today.
see
Love it. I'm
you.
so glad to see you. And listen, we will be back with the next episode of On the Beat with the ABC. See you next time.